Welcome to the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast. Youth ministries rise and fall on the volunteers, so we are here to encourage and equip you. Join the conversation as we tackle the practical questions you are asking so you can help the next generation know Jesus.
All right, everybody, I've got two folks here who are getting a chance to share a little bit from, you've noticed throughout the summer, we've been talking about different practices that kind of have grown faith. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing from Dawn and Ashlynn. Now, for those of you that may not know, Dawn is actually a very familiar person with the youth worker community. She's actually on our team, and Dawn, you're on our website, which is super fun. So you'll introduce yourself in a second, but Ashlynn, you and I just met. Why don't you fill people in that are listening? Where are you coming from? How old are you? You're maybe younger than most of our youth workers that we have on here. Tell us a bit about your journey.
Right. So, my name is Ashlynn Shields, and I'm from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And I'm 15 years old, and I volunteer at a few different things around here in Moose Jaw for youth groups, like volunteer at Hillcrest, Church of God, and Youth for Christ.
That's awesome. And so what are your volunteer roles at those two places?
So at Hillcrest and Church of God, and Youth for Christ, I'm a leader there, and each one I have like a different job and something that I do differently. At Hillcrest, I do the announcements, and I have a small group with other grade 8. Well, I'm a grade 8 girls small group leader, and there's me and a few other leaders. And then at Church of God, I just connect with the youth there, and I'm a grade 6 girls small group leader. Then at Youth for Christ, I'm a leader there again, but it's just mainly there connecting with the kids and hanging out with them.
I love that so much. That's incredible. Okay, and then Dawn, for those that don't know who you are, why don't you fill them in? Where are you coming from?
Yeah, I'm Dawn. I'm here in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan as well. I am part of the YWC team. I get to be the team administrator and event coordinator, and we do all kinds of amazing and fun things. It's a great time.
It is a great time. And this is your first time on the podcast. How did you meet Ashlynn? How do you guys know each other?
My goodness, Ashlynn came to small group at Hillcrest Teens, where I help out on Wednesday nights for our small group, for our junior high program, And yeah, she just showed up one night, just kind of unconnected with anybody in our small group, but had other friends that were kind of loosely connected with Hillcrest Teens. And so, yeah, she just showed up and started attending small group on the regular, and we got to know each other and connect that way.
That's so cool. And so, Dawn, you and I were talking a little bit about this summer series that we were doing. And so if you're listening to this live, this is summertime. Maybe you're listening in the winter, and that's fine. Or maybe you're in Australia and it's your winter time, and that's fine too. But we wanted to walk through different stories from students who are experiencing different spiritual disciplines that are kind of growing their faith. And so what made you think of Ashlynn? Because that was like a pretty quick thing where you're like, ooh, this would be a fun person to talk to.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's amazing when some of us adult leaders who have been in youth ministry for a long time, when you start to make space for, younger people to get involved, it's really quite amazing what happens. And so, yeah, to see Ashlynn's eagerness to want to help out with some of the junior high programming that we have, it was like, oh, well, this is a no-brainer. There's no real magic to helping, with whatever we do. And so there were some strategic ways that we could have her kind of help out and get plugged in and, grow in some of her leadership skills. So, yeah, it was neat to just go to our senior, people and say, hey, can we make space for something like this to happen? So, yeah, and it was a green light. So it was pretty cool.
I love that so much. And Ashlynn, have you grown up in Moose Jaw? Is this kind of your hometown?
Yes, it is.
Can I ask, what was the spark for you to show up that first night? Did somebody invite you, or did you hear about it or walk by, or what happened?
Yeah, so one of my friends' brother, he invited me a half hour before junior high at Hillcrest was supposed to start. Just asked, hey, would you like to up at Hillcrest tonight? And I was able to go, and that's kind of how it happened.
Just like that. And now, do you find like has this changed? Like, do you feel like, oh, wow, this community has helped you out over the last little while, or like these experiences? What kind of things are going on in your world that you would look at these kinds of things and say, oh, I think other people should experience this type of stuff?
Yeah, well, like my life has changed a lot in this past year in ways that I didn't think were possible, but like people there were just really welcoming, and I was very shy at the start. I would keep to myself and to my close friends, but later on, as um, time went on, I started learning how to be more of myself and just connecting with others around me, and that has changed me a lot to really get out of my comfort zone and do many different things.
I love that so much. And hey, Don, since you've been a part of Ashlynn's journey, would love for you to kind of, I know you guys have been chatting a little bit about where this conversation could go, and you've got some thoughts or even some questions for Ashlynn. And, the way that we think about, ministry and youth workers as we get a chance to kind of lead students towards Jesus, to help them follow Jesus, we would think that, hey, this idea of participating and being a part of the family of God in this way of coming back with service and volunteering could be beneficial. And so since you've seen this in Ashlynn, why don't you kind of take the lead here and let us get to know a little bit of how that's worked for her journey, for your journey, and that might be encouraging to our youth workers listening.
Absolutely. Ashlynn, yeah, like we were talking before just about how, it was so great to have you as part of our grade 8 small group. And it seemed like you were really plugged in and committed to being, part of, junior high, the programming and attending as a student. But then something else was stirring in you. Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of inspired you to want to get involved with helping out in church ministry? You're so young, what was it, or what was that kind of TSN turning point moment where you're like, hey, I want to get involved? What was that? Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yes. So as I continued going to Hillcrest, I wasn't really paying attention to the sermons that they had until one of the other student leaders that we have, Alora, she shared her testimony, and then something just really flipped that switch in my brain to it was so cool hearing her story and just seeing how everyone has a story like that. And I really wanted to know what my story was. So I was talking to Pastor Chris and other leaders, especially Linnea and Luke, who were youth leaders there. And I shared my testimony later on, and it was that's been my one thing that I love leading for, is to get to know people and know their story and just make sure, or just share that everyone has a story and they're all meaningful and unique, and it's there for a reason.
For sure. That's awesome. And Ashlynn, it's been amazing to have you as part of the leadership team, and you just seem like just a natural fit, just to, bring your gifts and talents and your own experiences and say, oh, hey, what about this? Or your cool ideas, right? It's been really fun. What are some challenges, though? It's not always smooth sailing. I know it can be kind of crazy with the junior high group. And I suspect it's the same across the board when you're dealing with people. It's challenging, right? What are some of the challenges that you face, serving in the different ministries that you serve in? And then we'll follow that up with another question. How can we help you as leaders? But what are some of the things that you have found, oh, that's tough?
Some of the things that I found kind of challenging is feeling too young to be a leader. I'm the youngest youth leader at Church of God in the junior high area, so it's going in, I'm just with other adults, and it's am I too young to do this? I'm a year, 2, 3 a year apart from these students. Too young to do this, and because just also for me being new to knowing Jesus and only hearing certain stories about him, I didn't know much, and I was just worried that I wasn't smart enough or didn't know what answers for some students if they had any questions. What if I can't answer this? It's just, am I gonna be looked down upon? Because it seems like going into it seems like something I should know and to be able to answer those questions, but yeah.
Yeah. What are some ways that some of the leaders around you have helped you with those challenges? Because it's not just you going it alone, but what are some ways that you've been able to, get the help that you need in those situations?
Getting help with that is just having training for leaders and just to learn more and how to handle situations like that. I have gotten students asking me questions that I couldn't even give an the smallest answer to. But so I would go to another leader, like one of my youth pastors, like Pastor Chris or Pastor Caddy, or just other leaders that I think would know the answer to that. Just go to them, and also for having leaders to just be open to listen and to other people and to give ideas to them to learn from that.
For sure, for sure.
Maybe I can ask too, because I think, Ashlynn, the fun part for us is we get a chance to interact with youth workers from across our country, and there's lots that are old that still say, "I don't know all the right answers. What am I supposed to do when people ask me questions that I cannot answer?" And the great news is that they do, or we encourage them to do exactly what you do. Is hey, as a community, can we actually learn and grow together, and can we connect with others? But one of the fun parts, and it sounds like this has been a part of your journey, is that if Jesus has made a difference in your life, you've got the hope that he could make the difference in the lives of the kids that are in your group too. And so have you found ways that even as a young leader that you get to serve in different capacities, that as you serve, you've been able to help encourage and build up the faith of some of these other students that are around you?
In my small group for the grade 8 girls at Hillcrest, we sometimes split up, and I take a handful of girls, or 5 girls, and they're always encouraged to like bully and or just even prayer for other people. And there's this one time where I almost forgot to, or I did forget to pray for over the small group, and one of the girls commented that we didn't and wanted to, and she opened us in prayer for us.
I love that so much. That's so cool. And then maybe, sorry, I got one more question. Then Don, you keep going. As you have found ways to be a part of these ministries, at your church and at the Youth for Christ Club, how has that shaped and changed your faith? As somebody that's kind of early on walking with Jesus, how have you noticed your faith growing or changing as you've been able to serve and volunteer in these kinds of ways?
How I've seen it change is that I definitely have more trust in God, and it's like before, I've like been through some stuff in my life that that had an effect on me, and I didn't think that, or I was just wondering why I went through all of this. But as I continued showing up and continued listening, I realized that it all happened for a reason, and it was all part of God's plan, and He has something good for that. And I've just, with everything that happens in my life, I always turn back to that, especially with the verse Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. I always go over that one, because that one just reminds me my plan, or God's plan for me, will work out, and what I'm going through for a reason.
You want to take it from here, Don?
Sure. Yeah. That's awesome. I feel like, yeah, as you grow in your faith through serving others, yeah, God will just continually use your experiences to help other people around you, especially people who are younger than you, who look up to you. Because you got to admit, you're kind of one of the cool leaders, right? The kids engage with, our senior high leaders that show up to junior high in a different way than they do with the adults. So it's pretty cool to see that you're leading by example and putting God first in your life and looking to Him for direction and using your experiences to learn and grow and help others, right? So that's pretty cool. Just to kind of circle back to, church leadership and how you came to be a leader. In your opinion, what are some creative ways that churches and communities can help empower youth to serve like you've been doing? Like, what are some ways that you've seen where you're like, oh, see, that's a good plan from, leadership?
Yeah. So from what I've seen, like even before when I was a youth, just letting youth, like include youth in like certain jobs like that leaders would do. Like at the end of last year when I was still in grade 8, I was given some jobs that normally leaders have, which, as a youth and just it's not really normal to you, is like super cool. And I just say like including youth with different things, like having open jobs, and just if any of the youth ask to do something, just you don't always have to say yes, but give them an opportunity to try something new. And especially with at Hillcrest, that's what our youth pastor Chris does. Like a few weeks ago, there was some youth volunteering, helping sorting bottles, and there's also been youth that are interested with setting up games and then putting stuff away. And just recently, they started this game studio thing where youth get to create our games, and just having youth included with something like that can definitely make them interested in wanting to do things like that. And I'd say even allowing space for like going from grade 8 to grade 9 and just allowing grade 9s to be youth leaders as well, instead of having just only like grade 10s and not being leaders. Because leaving youth group in grade 8, you're still like, I'd say, on fire for that kind of thing, to just be included and help out. So going through the summer break and then being in grade 9, then becoming a leader to just grow your skills and just do something that you are really looking forward to doing or just really want to help out is, I'd say, a good way in including or just having youth want to lead.
For sure. What have been some of your favorite jobs, Ashlynn, that you've been kind of plugged into? I know what your skills and your strengths are, but what are some of the things that you're like, I loved that, or I didn't love that?
Yeah, one thing that I love doing, it's my job at Hillcrest, is doing the announcements. I didn't like once or twice last year in grade 8, and at the start I was unsure. I had to have things written down, like what am I going to say? Am I going to mess up? And it was like that at the start of this year too. But as it continued, it just got a lot easier. And what also made it easier, I wasn't the only one doing it. There was me and another person, Josiah, that was doing the announcements. So definitely also having someone with me doing it made things easier. And just also handing out flyers at the end of the night and just interacting with all the youth. As they're leaving and just saying bye to them, that's one thing that I enjoy doing. And then for something, and another thing, I really like being included in the games or having like a big job in the games, like running a team or something. I really like doing that because again, you get to connect with the youth and just I'm kind of competitive when it comes to certain games, so I just love you know, having a team and just trying our best to win, but bringing that good teamwork and competitiveness together. And then for things that aren't really my thing, or just what I didn't really like, I would say is just being like roaming around as leaders. Like not all leaders are included in the games, but I find that if I'm not, then I'm not doing my best leading job connecting with the youth. I just find I normally stick to other leaders or myself. So I just knew that that wasn't the best thing for me, and that in the game, in whatever our main game is going to be that night, to just have a job that's important in the night, just so I don't get distracted doing something else or just not connecting with the youth or that kind of thing.
For sure. Well, it's interesting, Ashlynn, because I've seen a good number of you younger leaders who you're willing to do any job that you're asked, like even sorting bottles and cans from the canteen. Like, I think, oh, that's not a great job. But you guys were all in there laughing and joking and having a good time. Mm-hmm. And it was great to see Chris leading you guys and making it a fun thing. And any number of you, you're so highly capable, but you're willing to sort the cans or take out the trash or put away the Foursquare or whatever it is. It's really cool to see you guys engage and be willing to do pretty much anything. I think the last question that I kind of have was, what advice would you give other young people who feel called to serve but don't really know where to start?
For that, I'd say if they don't know where to start, is to just show up. Just try your best just show up and then also ask to get involved with something. And I know it sometimes seems scary, but sometimes just going for that next step can change a lot. And just also finding out like what you think you fit best in and what your skills are. And just or have an idea of what you enjoy doing and what you're good at. You can talk to other people like your youth pastor or other leaders and things just to get put in that area where you're best, and to just always look out for different opportunities, or just again ask people just what they think is best, or just ask for advice and then go from there.
Well, Ashlynn, thanks so much for sharing with our youth workers. Dawn, thanks for pulling this one together. It's fun that you guys get a chance to connect. Are you guys still doing ministry together?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every
Wednesday. Your ministry night is on which night do you guys do ministry?
Every Wednesday.
Wednesday night. There you go. So very grateful for this. And hopefully, Ashlynn, and kind of what I said before we hit record is that it's great to see how, God is inspiring you as you get a chance to serve and volunteer. And our hope is that for our youth workers listening, that maybe be a good reminder. Hey, why don't we call people into leadership, invite students to be participants in ministry, give them opportunities to lead, and that it actually unlocks some really incredible gifts and the ways that God might want to work through them. And so I love that God's writing that story in your journey, Ashlynn. I like that you got Dawn. She's a great one to have connected to you. Mm-hmm. And we're grateful that you'd be willing to share with our youth workers today. So thanks to you both. You guys, either of you want to say anything else before we let everybody go?
No, I think I said everything.
I love it. Well, for all you listening, you're making an eternal difference. We're grateful for you. And Ashlynn is part of the youth worker community. You are a youth worker, and you too are making an eternal difference. So thanks so much. We'll see you guys back here next time for another conversation on the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast.